Hi and welcome to Take Time to Create. My name is Linda and this is where we take time out of our everyday lives to create new and wonderful things. So today we're going to work on a mask again. This is for the local art museum and this is their annual charity auction. And I did a mask last year and so I will go ahead and link that up in the iCard. So I'm going to do fabric mixed media again this year, and there are rules about it, but this year I thought I'd mount it on a wooden canvas. Now, this guy is really hefty. It's ceramic bisque, and it's a very hefty, I don't have a scale here, but a very hefty mask. So I wanted to mount it on a canvas, so I thought a wood canvas would actually be better because I needed something that wouldn't bow, so I think a regular canvas wouldn't hold it as well. So this canvas is, let me grab my tape here. It is a 16 by 12 and it is 1.5 inches tall. So pretty good sized canvas. I will link it down below, the canvas I picked up. I picked it up off of Amazon. Oh, let me flip it over. Okay, so you can see that it's got a pretty thick base to it too. I'm gonna put it all together. If I have to shore it up and put something underneath afterwards, I can definitely do that. But for right now, I think this is good, and I think it is strong enough, but it all depends on how much I end up putting on the top. So first things first, what I needed to do was wipe this down, and I already did that, and I let it dry because you just want to get all that dust off of there. The second thing I need to do is adhere it to the canvas, and I'm going to use Liquitex modeling paste, and this is pretty good stuff for this, and I just bought this. Open it up. I'm thinking this is going to be strong enough, and I did not get the flexible modeling paste. I got the regular modeling paste because this is not a flexible surface. It's wood, and this is a ceramic, of course, so we're not going flexible. I thought about putting gesso to have a layer, but then I thought maybe I want it to actually soak in and adhere to the ceramicness. I don't know. I don't know if gesso would have been better before I start doing this. Who knows? Sometimes I just kind of go to town. I'm thinking this is enough, this little jar. It's all Michael's had was this little jar. And I am being very, very generous with my modeling paste because I want to make sure this stays on. Whoever wins this from the auction, I don't want them to be sad that this falls off. So I am doing my due diligence and making sure that this is very well adhered. Okay, let me do this, then we're going to stick it on the canvas. Okay, so I have quite a bit on here and I have fingers crossed that it is enough. All right, flip this around. And I'm gonna kind of center it up, and I do have a little bit of working time, and I'm okay if it kind of oozes out because I'm going to be putting fabric on. And so, yeah, all right. Now I put on a ton of modeling paste. A ton. And so this needs to dry overnight. So I'm not going to go to the next step, which is gessoing. I am not going to do that because I want to make sure this stays on. So let me let this fully dry. I do have time. This isn't due for another month or so. So I have time to take my time and make sure that it's staying here. And I'm actually going to kind of grout it-ish. I'm going to make sure it's really got a good seal around the edge. And so I'm going to go around and do that. And yeah, then we will move on to the next step when this is fully dried, and I am happy that it is 100% secured. Okay, I'll see you in a few. Okay, so this is all adhered onto this wooden canvas, and I will say it's really heavy. This mask is super heavy, and I'm a little concerned because, oh, I don't know if I can show you very well, but the board isn't very thick on this wooden canvas. Overall, it's not a super thick canvas, or the wood. The edges are pretty thick, but the middle, and I got a little worried. So I shored it up, and I just have these wooden planks on here, and I just adhered them with the modeling paste, and I thought that would, you know, just kind of help support it so that so that it doesn't bend. I think it'll work. So we're just gonna go ahead with this. I did leave this propped up against the wall like this, and I had like a towel and blankets here just in case it fell. And I left it for about a week because I wanted to make sure this mask would stay on. And it looks like it's pretty well secured. It's pretty heavy. I'm thinking we are like 4 or 5 pounds total with this whole thing, and I just wanted to make sure this is going to stay. I don't want it to come off. So it looks like it's pretty good. It stayed for the whole week. It didn't move. And I do feel like this is much stronger. I mean, it wasn't bowing or bending before, but I just feel like it's much better. And I guess that's the only thing. I just need to make sure I feel better about it. So now I want to do is gesso this whole thing. And normally I do black gesso, but for this I'm going to do white gesso. And that's just because I'm going to use fabric on here, and I'm going to use some lighter color fabrics, and I don't want the black to come through. So I am just covering it with Art Basics Heavy White Gesso, just one coat of it, and I'm just going to wrap the edge just a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about the edges because at the end, as you all know, I come back just like this a little bit. I come back and I clean up the edges. I will do a coat of gesso, and I will do a coat of white acrylic paint. If I decide white, I might do a blue on the edges, or I'm not sure. So we'll see what the edge gets. But for right now, it's just gonna get this white gesso, and that's it. Not very exciting, but I want to have a even coat of a solid color on the background. It just makes a better fabric canvas if you have a solid color as your background. That way, if you've got fabric that shows through, or it's a little on the thinner side, it's all uniform and even. So I do find it works better. And this really helps the acrylic, the gel mediums and the to adhere better so it doesn't soak into the wood or the canvas, all of that. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then I will be right back after it's fully dried, and then we will actually start on the fabric part, and I'm pretty excited about that. So everything's getting a coat of gesso, and I've noticed that it's not quite smooth. I got some modeling paste on the edge of the mask, but that's okay because I'm going to cover it up with fabric, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be super duper smooth. So that is a very good thing. All right, I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and I'm ready to put my fabric on my mask, and let's see if I can kind of tip it so you can see everything is white. Really hard to see with the lights and everything. One of the rules for this mask sheet, I've got my rule sheet here. So the original shape must be used, visible, or reflected in my final product. So I need to make sure when I put my fabric on that I can still see the face, and make sure that as I put this on here, it won't be, it'll be wrinkly, but I'm going to make sure that the nose and the eyes and maybe the mouth is kind of still visible, but we'll still get the circle of the mask as well. And I don't remember if I mentioned what this theme is. This is the Avril song, Head Above Water. When I heard that song, it spoke to me. I love that song. I will link it down below to her video with it. Love, love, love that song. And since that song spoke to me so much, I want to have this head like it's coming out of the water. So we're all trying to keep our head above water, and yes, I just love that song. So it was my inspiration for this piece. And so I'm going to do a lighter blue at the top of the head and then darker blue around, like this head's coming out of the water. I think I'm going to need to use a lot of paint to really bring it together. But let's do the first step, and the first step is fabric. And like I always do on all my fabric mixed media, is I'm going to put gloss heavy gel as a first layer. Then I'm going to soak each piece in gloss gel. I really love Liquitex. It just works well for me. Like I always say, I don't know if I need to put this heavy gel on the bottom, but I just like to be extra secure. And I just pellet that on, I soak each piece, wring it out. So you soak each piece, then you wring it out so that it's not sopping, and you place it down. There's a lot of working time with this. So if it's not perfect, then you've got time. And then I'm going to let it dry. I'll come back with paint, and I might add some other textures with it, micro beads or other things, because I want to make waves or look like the waves are rippling, like this head is coming out. So we'll have some foam on the ocean. I'm not 100% sure let's do the fabric first. Let's get that piece, and then we're just gonna kind of play with this and see what happens. So yeah, let's get started, I guess. This always takes a while, so be super patient when you do this. And wear gloves. I found that this stuff gets all over your hands, and it's just better to wear gloves. And make sure you let it dry overnight, 24 hours before you paint. You really want to make sure that it's nice and dry, so be very patient. If you paint too soon, it'll just kind of soak in. And the gel will add a barrier on the fabric so that the paint just won't soak into the fabric. It adds a barrier so the paint kind of lives on top. So yeah, lots of patience. So I'm going to do this today, and then I'll probably come back in a few days and we'll do the next step. This is taking a while, but I'm doing it in between other projects, so it's not a steady, I have to get this done. I still have time. It is late October as I'm working on this, and I just have to have it in. When is my delivery date? Oh, I don't know. It's on here somewhere. December 8th. So I've got some time, which is perfect because I don't want to rush this. So I don't know when this will post, but I'm just giving you kind of a timeline. I'm working pretty slow on this, but that's okay. Like I said, no rush. I'm working on it in between other projects and other deadlines that I have. And because this is just a fun project, I really enjoy it. And since it's charity, I want to do my best and be able to raise a lot of money for the museum, doing my part. All right. Let's get started. This is so much fun. Oh yeah, and the other advice that I have that I've mentioned before I get started, I'm just gonna fast forward and kind of do it speed motion. Don't cut the glue fabric, because if you have to trim pieces up, don't cut it with your good scissors. Your good fabric scissors, like my good fabric scissors, they are no longer in the picture right now because they will have glue on them and they will be sad. Have a pair of scissors that's just dedicated to this when you get to this stage, because you don't want glue on your good scissors. Believe me, it might have happened. So learn from my mistakes. All right, let's get started. All right, so I think I'm pretty well finished. Now it's time to just go around and finagle all the edges, make sure things are laid down the way you want. If you have any edges, look at it from all angles to make sure that everything is covered, that you've got it the way you want, because once it's dry, it's dry. It's not going anywhere. You won't be able to move things once it's dry. And yes, so that's good. And look at it from all angles. And a hint that I forgot to tell you earlier was lay out your fabric first before you get started. And you want to make sure you know what order you're putting things in, where it's going, how you want to get it all done. So that's the important part of all of this, is just to make sure that you have it. Look at it from all angles, and then let it dry for 24 hours, for a full night. Let it dry. That's just the best way to make sure it all is well adhered before we go on to the next step, which is paint. So that's what I'm going to do. It always takes a little bit. You hold it up from all angles. I like to lift it up and look at it all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. So let's do this. All right, we are back now. This is all dry. It's been a couple weeks. It's been a while. This project is taking longer than I anticipated. I put it down and then I come back, and I put it down and I come back. But it is all dry and the fabric looks good. As always, if you like it at this stage, just leave it. For me, I'm going to add some paint. So I have on my paper plate here, I have a little bit of Arteza paint. I have Pearl Electric Blue, Pearl Sky Blue, Pearl Glacier Blue, and Pearl White. I'm also going to be using some Finnabar Premium Marketing Art Alchemy paints. This one is Royal Blue. This one is Midnight Sky. I have Sparks, it's Magical Pond, and this is the white one, White Pearl. So I have a variety of paints, and I'm just going to use all of them and just kind of randomly mix them around. So I won't be like, oh, I'm dipping into this one, I'm dipping into this one, because it's really just whatever you have. These are my favorite blues that kind of go with this. I was looking at all the different colors in the mask, in the fabrics, and I'm going to go lighter colors up top as the head is coming out of the water, and darker blues still along the sides. I need to blend these because I ran out of the lighter blues here, so blend these a little bit. So I might bring some more dark blues through here so that the head is all, dark coming out. So I'm just going to kind of play with it, play with the paint, see what I need to do. And yeah, there we go. So let's get to painting. All right, so I'm going to stop painting for now. Everything's getting a little saturated and I like this layer. So I'm going to pause, let it fully dry. You can use a heat tool, but I'm just gonna let it air dry. It's acrylic paint, it won't take very long. Then I will come back and I think I'm gonna add another layer and I think I'm gonna add some more textures to the water, but so far I'm happy with how it's turning out. Piece of advice, when you close up your Finnabar paints, make sure you clean the rim with a baby wipe because when you get a bunch on there, it will stick. And if it does stick, just run it under hot water and it usually loosens it up if I can't get the lid open. That's what I found works for me. So you can always make sure you can use it. And also in this technique, and I'll come back and I'll paint more. If you feel that your paint is too thick, water it down. Just dip your brush in water and then go into your paint or, go into your little pile of paint on your plate here. That way it just thins it out just enough just to get all those highlights and ridges as you're doing it. So that's that. That's the start. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna paint some more once this is dry and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so I think I have enough paint on this for now. I don't want to put too much paint on it and then it saturates everything. I'm going to leave it the way it is. I think it blended nicely and you want to still leave the fabric pattern underneath so you know that there is a pattern and I think it just looks really good and so you still know that it is fabric. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I'm adding some little micro beads, and this is just a set of them from Recollections, and I think I got this at Michael's. And I poured them out, just the silver and the clear. Oh, I'm making a mess. I poured the silver and the clear into these little bins, and what I'm going to do is take some gloss gel and I'm making this kind of like waves, and so I'm just going to dab along the sides down here, not where the face is coming up, but down here. I'm going to add waves around and just kind of pour it on. Now I'm not going to brush it off until it's completely dried, and that's so that all the pieces are staying, and I'll also press them down. So that's the next step, and then I might put mica flakes on there. These are Stampendous, but I'm not sure. So let me see how the microbeads look and then we'll go from there. But this is getting close to being done. I'm very excited because it is due soon and I want to make sure I get it in on time. So it's available for the charity auction. So yeah, let me get started. Alright, so I think this is all done. I do love how this turned out. I really like the mica flakes. I think those added just the right detail. Now what I did is I took a soft brush, and not too soft because you want to be able to sweep things away, and I gently brushed off the mica flakes that were not adhered down. And you just want to make sure those are not going to float around and get in the way. And the next two steps I'm going to do off camera are I'm going to, let's see if I can find, I'm going to just take some paint, some blue paint. This one's primary blue. I don't think I'll use that one. No, I think This one, Liquitex Basic Cobalt Blue. I was looking through my acrylic paint to see what would match the best with this dark blue here. And this one looks like it'll work pretty well. I'm going to paint the edges in 2 coats of acrylic paint just to make sure the edges look nice and clean so that when people are ready to hang it, it looks like a finished piece. And I will wrap down the bottom as well just to get that underside just to make it look nice and clean and finished. And once it's all dry, I'm going to take it out and spray it with a UV spray. And that's so everything it's protected because it is fabric, and fabric does have a tendency of fading. And I just want to make sure that the person who purchases this in the charity auction will be able to display it for a long time without it fading on them. I will have close-up pictures of this at the end of this video, and I'll also have close-ups on my blog as well. And you can find the link to my blog in the description box down below. And you can use this technique for lots of things, and I will have that playlist in the iCard as well, so you can find that playlist of other things that I've done with this fabric mixed media technique. And there we go, that's it. I do love how it turned out. I think it looks really cool. Yep, it's what I imagined, and here we are. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when I post new videos. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and on my blog. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time.